Jim Jones just shook the hip-hop world by claiming he's more influential than Nas. Yeah, Nas, the legend who's been schooling the rap game since the early 90s. That's a bold move, even for Jim. But this isn't just some random shout-out or ego trip. What we're looking at here is a heated saga that's been brewing for over 20 years, packed with beefs, respect, street rumors, and power plays that go far beyond just music. And with 50 Cent lurking in the background, ready to pull receipts and drop bombs, this drama is about to explode in ways nobody saw coming. So, if you're ready for the real story behind the headlines, stick with me, because it's about to get wild. The seeds of this feud were planted back in 2002. At that time, Nas was already a revered figure, known for laying down some of the most iconic verses and albums in hip-hop history. But out of nowhere, Nas took a jab at Cameron on Hot 97, calling his album whack. And he didn't really explain why. That tiny spark set off a massive reaction from the Dipset crew, one of the biggest rap groups on the East Coast at the time. Jim Jones, one of Dipset's leaders, wasn't about to let that slide. He jumped in hard, throwing shade and threats that went beyond rap battles. Jim said things like he'd smack the Kofi off Nas, making it clear this beef wasn't just about music anymore. It was personal. The two camps went back and forth, trading diss tracks and insults on mixtapes, with fans tuning in for every blow. But here's the interesting part. Jim Jones has admitted that Nas was his idol growing up. Nas was the guy who inspired him to rap, the legend whose style and lyricism he admired deeply. For years, Jim spoke about Nas with respect, calling him one of the greatest. But somewhere along the way, that respect started to mix with competition and frustration, turning into a simmering rivalry. Fast forward to recent years, and Jim Jones hasn't held back. On a popular podcast with Fat Joe and Jada Kiss, Jim made headlines by saying he's more influential than Nas. Not just relevant or respected, he claimed straight-up influence over the culture that beats Nas today. He argued that most young listeners don't really know who Nas is because he represents an older generation, while Jim's music and style speak to today's youth. Jim didn't totally dismiss Nas. He called him a god from his era. But he insisted that times have changed. Jay-Z, DMX, and other rappers had more street influence than Nas, and Jim positioned himself as the new standard bearer of influence and style. He told fans to check his track record, his chart numbers, and his streams, pointing out how his music connects with a fresh generation. His social media lit up with fans debating who's really more influential. Jim doubled down on his statements multiple times, telling the industry he's still relevant and ready to prove it. But not everyone was convinced. The real fireworks started when Jim appeared on Shannon Sharpe's Nightcap podcast. Shannon didn't waste any time and asked straight up if Jim was smoking when he said he was better than Nas. Jim admitted he might have been a little bit, but stood by his claim that he's way more influential. What followed was a heated back and forth that wasn't just about music. It turned into a battle of lifestyles and credibility. Shannon challenged Jim's street cred and fitness, daring him to prove himself in the gym. Jim fired back, mocking Shannon's fashion sense and doubling down on being better than anyone from the Diplomats. The conversation was tense and entertaining, full of Jim challenges, subtle digs, and strong opinions. The internet exploded with clips of the exchange, with fans picking sides and debating who won the verbal duel. Jim was determined to show he's still a force to be reckoned with, not just as a rapper, but as a symbol of street influence and hustle. While Jim was busy with podcasts and social media battles, 50 Cent quietly watched from the sidelines. Known for his calculated moves and cold trolling, 50 saw an opening and took it. He resurfaced old federal transcripts, hinting at Jim Jones's alleged gang connections, referring to him as Individual One, a name that sent shockwaves through hip-hop circles. This nickname came from the Tekashi 69 federal trial, where prosecutors played wiretaps allegedly featuring Jim Jones. Although Jim was never officially charged or named in court, 50 Cent made sure no one forgot the connection. He reposted memes and captions that reminded the streets of Jim's alleged past, stirring rumors and adding serious weight to the drama. Jim Jones responded with Dipset nostalgia photos and Jim flexes, trying to shift the narrative. But with 50 Cent pulling receipts and fans buzzing, the drama quickly escalated from podcast banter to something far more serious. Fans didn't hold back. Social media was flooded with opinions. Many sided with Nas and Shannon Sharpe, calling Jim's claims delusional and accusing him of trying to rewrite hip-hop history. Others debated whether Nas really had the same street influence Jim claimed he lacked. Numbers and facts played a big role in the discussion. Nas has dropped critically acclaimed albums consistently, maintaining respect and relevance in the rap world for decades. Jim Jones, while respected and influential in his own right, has a smaller discography and less commercial impact in recent years. The debate turned into a bigger conversation about what influence really means. Is it about street credibility, lyrical skills, sales, cultural impact, or all of these? Some argued Jim's boldness and marketing savvy gave him an edge, while others said Nas's legacy is untouchable. The situation blurred lines between rap beef and real-world drama, with some fans worried about where this could lead next. Throughout all this, Nas has remained silent. No public responses, no diss tracks, nothing. It's a stark contrast to Jim's nonstop baiting and social media activity. This silence has fans on edge. Is Nas waiting for the perfect moment to strike? Or is he deliberately staying out of the drama? Meanwhile, 50 Cent's silence has been equally telling. When 50 goes quiet, it often means something big is brewing behind the scenes. Fans speculate whether 50 will drop some unreleased recordings, leaks, or even instigate a lyrical ambush on Jim Jones. This tension builds the suspense. Will Nas break his silence with a legendary response? Or will the streets handle Jim Jones in a way nobody expects? The waiting game has everyone hooked. This beef isn't just about bragging rights. It's about legacy, influence, and respect in a game that's always changing. Jim Jones wants to prove he's still a kingpin in hip-hop, that his voice and style resonate today's culture more than Nas's classic artistry. Nas, on the other hand, represents the foundation, the storytelling, the lyrical mastery, the timeless albums that shaped the genre. With 50 Cent involved, the situation goes beyond music. There are whispers of real-life consequences and old street politics mingling with these rap battles. Fans and insiders wonder if this conflict could spark something bigger, something the industry rarely talks about openly. Whatever happens next will define these artists' places in hip-hop history for years to come. Jim Jones's controversial claim has reopened old wounds and forced the culture to revisit a decades-long rivalry. But with 50 Cent's shadowy moves and Nas's silence, this story is far from over. Whether it ends with a legendary lyrical showdown, new revelations from the streets, or simply fades into another chapter of hip-hop lore, one thing is certain: the stakes have never been higher. For the fans watching, it's a front-row seat to drama, power, and respect, battling it out on and off the mic. The question now is, who will come out on top? And how will this saga shape the future of hip-hop? Stay tuned because this game is just getting started.